Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Endzone Pats podcast. It's been a while. Ain't that right, Coach?
Yeah, it's been a while. I apologize. Life gets in the way. A lot of things going on. But
dude,
what's up, everybody?
dude, you have no idea the amount of comments I got on TikTok. When is Coach getting back on? That's what my boy Seth on TikTok was telling me. Nah, but we back again. And before we get started, we have added a new installment to the show, a section where we tell funny, one of our funniest stories that may happen to us in our life or in the past. So I got to tell you this one story, bro. So I was at the barbershop a couple weeks ago, right?
Right.
And by the way, shout out to Bentley's Barbershop on Boston Road. The people there, down to earth. The barbers are real cool. So if you guys, live in Springfield, if you guys are in the area, feel free to check out Bentley's Barbershop. Yo, so back to what I was saying. I was at the barbershop a couple weeks ago, right? And you know, I just go in, get my hair cut from Johnny, right? And we were just, chilling, talking football, right? He's a
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys fan, by the way, which I hope this year it's his year. But anyway, nah, check this out. So, there was this other barber next to me, right? I can't remember his name off the top of my head though, but he was talking about Beyonce, right? He thinks Beyonce was, overrated or not good, trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I added, well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to know that Michael Jackson is the greatest entertainer of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes, oh, I don't think so. And then my barber Johnny goes, what? Are you crazy? And bro, you should have seen, bro, you should have seen the amount of arguing, screaming and arguing that was going on, bro. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then one of the other barbers from across the room was like, "Nah, Chris Brown is right. Bro could do flips and
Uh-huh.
sing at the same time, right?" And bro, it was all chaos, and I couldn't help but laugh out of this atrocity, bro. I just couldn't believe my eyes. Like, bro, there was no way we were debating that Chris Brown was the greatest entertainer of all time, bro.
Chris Brown might be the best entertainer alive right now, but
Right.
the greatest entertainer of all time? No. Come on, man. It's Mike. Everybody knows it's Mike.
Bro, it's always Mike. It's always Mike. But nah. Anywho, look,
Yeah.
let's end this debate right now. Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
greatest entertainer of all time.
Yes.
I don't want to hear no Beyonce or Chris Brown. And hey, I know you guys be watching the podcast
Mhm.
too. So stop. So when I get back there tomorrow for my haircut, I don't want to hear, bro, why did you say that? Nah. You
Listen, I'm gonna just leave it on this note. Mike is the greatest entertainer of all time.
it
Love him or
is.
hate him, he's the greatest entertainer of all time. Chris Brown is a great entertainer,
Yep.
but who would you choose between Chris Brown and Usher? And I'm not saying to answer that now, but that's a that's a pretty close debate right there. Chris Brown and Usher.
Yeah, that is.
Usher puts it down too.
I won't answer this on
So
camera.
yeah, that'll be a whole different
Yeah,
segment.
yeah,
But
that will
I'm
be.
just saying.
Look. For the remainder of this podcast, I'm not gonna answer that question right now because I love both artists. But let's move on into our section
Right.
today. As you guys know, Patriots OTAs has wrapped up. So let's talk about what has been going on during OTAs. So we all knew at first that Drake May was, struggling a little bit with the interceptions and so on and so forth, and the offensive line wasn't clicking right away. But as OTAs went on, we've been starting to get good results. I mean, Drake May was able to, throw good passes down the middle against Christian Gonzalez and so on and so forth. But on his last day, on the last day of OTAs, Drake May was able to throw 14 to 16 on his pass attempts. That's a
Mm,
major improvement. That's a major improvement
mm,
when you think about, how far, I shouldn't say how far because this is year two, But you should, but that's a accomplishment considering this is a new system for everyone, and everyone even Mike Vrabel said himself that everyone's gonna have a second chance, a fresh start. So what you gotta say to that?
Well, I was a little concerned at first with the amount of interceptions. It wasn't just interceptions. There was a lot of sound like mental errors
Right?
because there was at least one report of fumbled
Give me
snaps.
1 second. I just gotta say hi to your wife. How you doing, Maritza? Can't forget about the wife. So you were saying?
So yeah, I was a little concerned at first. Four interceptions in one practice,
Right,
fumbled snaps. To me, that shows lack of communication.
right, right,
So I don't know how much of that is on Drake May. I don't
right,
know how much
right,
of that is on the receivers, maybe running the wrong route. I don't
right,
know how much is it on everybody learning a new system.
right, 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 right,
But from all accounts, it wasn't pretty initially.
right, right.
But it seems like they're cleaning it up as it goes along,
Yeah.
which is always good, which is what we want to see. We want to continue to see progress. So I'm just curious as to the names that stand out
Okay.
in training camp
Okay.
and in practices and OTAs.
I'm
So
glad you
let's get to
mentioned.
that.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that. So, well, first things first. Not a lot of people, uh, attended OTAs. I should say a lot of people, but during the course of OTAs, Stefan Diggs wasn't there, and as you guys know about the boat incident and everything else, I mean, we're not gonna get into it, but seeing him at OTAs, yesterday, kind of clarified that he's not getting cut. He's there to stay. Matt Collins was present throughout the remainder of OTAs, but he didn't participate in the reps. Um, who else was there? Kendrick Bourne was there, but he wasn't there yesterday. Ramondre Stevenson, he was there yesterday, but throughout those times, excuse me, the days that OTAs was going on, he wasn't there because his father passed away. But,
Right.
sorry for your loss, Ramondre. Prayers to you and your family. But he was there, and Mike Vrabel, actually had a lot of great things to say about Ramondre.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even Ramondre even took it to the press, saying that hey, even though it's a new coaching staff, they're still checking on me, and that means a lot. And even Mike
Mm-hmm.
Vrabel has said that he's going to be a big part of the offense,
I've
and
been
that's
hearing that. Yep.
yep. So that's good. Of course Travion Henderson has been there. Kyle Williams. The majority of the rookies were there. Okay, and not a lot of bad things from the rookies as
Mm-hmm.
far as productivity or anything else. But you should look into Efton Chisholm. That's a guy that we've been talking about a lot.
Yep.
Prior to going on the air. So I gotta say, and I think we have been talking about for the last couple of episodes that I did mention that a report came out that Ethan Chisholm was the so-called next up Julian Edelman. I
Okay.
think that was far of a reach. Not hating on the kid. I think he's gonna be real special. Maybe even makes the 53 man roster spot. Excuse me, I have a little congested in my throat, but anyway, I think he has a chance to make the 53 man roster,
Mm.
you know? And on his last days, he was able to catch 7 of his passes from Drake May. And
Mm-hmm.
hey, check this out. Pop Douglas has also been shining at OTAs. Not a single drop either. Not a single drop.
Well, if you think about it, Pop Douglas is familiar with Josh McDaniels and his systems.
Let me correct you, cause he was never in Josh McDaniel's system.
No,
No, he was in. You got to. It was with Bill O'Brien. He was in Bill O'Brien's system.
I thought in his rookie year. No.
No, no.
Okay,
In
my
his rookie
bad.
year, Bill O'Brien was our offensive coordinator. You're
Okay,
talking
my
about
fault.
Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne, on the other hand, we haven't,
Okay.
heard any what you call good or bad from OTAs. I mean, he, has been, in the reps on 11 on 11s, but however, Kendrick Bourne, like I said, he wasn't present at the last day of OTAs, but you know, not into big on Kendrick Bourne, but I will say on what's his name, Will Campbell. Will Campbell is a name to look out too because hey, we drafted him at that high. I mean, we knew what it was when when we drafted someone that high. You knew what the expectation was.
Mm.
If we're gonna take a left tackle at pick 4, you better work. And and uh and every Pats fan, including you and myself, and everyone that's watching this, we can all agree when Will Campbell said, "I'm going to fight and die to protect Drake May." We knew what the expectation was. You
Mm-hmm.
better get back out on that field and work. And check this out, Tony. Mm, he was able to go head to head with Milton Williams and Keon White. But, however, Keon White was able to get the best of him on a couple of snaps, but Will Campbell was able to bounce back with some winnings too.
Mm-hmm.
Or, he was able to beat Keon White on the inside, according to Mike Reese's. But, um, as far as everyone else, right? Well, let's talk about the losers a little bit. I don't like to call them that, but according to the segment that we got here, we gotta call them.
Mm.
Sorry, y'all, but Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. So here's the thing, right? Javon Baker, right? He was able to catch some passes during the first 2 days of uh not rookie mini camp OTAs, but Mike Vrabel had to yell at him for being,
Showboating.
yeah, showboating. But they were able to talk afterwards, and we heard, prior to OTAs and the draft, that Mike Vrabel and the coaching staff are high on Javon Baker, and hopefully that he can make a jump, you
Mm.
know. But that's to show that that things are changing in New England as far as no more. What's the right word to say? Entitlement. No more
Mm.
entitlement. No more cockiness. Everyone's gonna be accountable to how they play and how high their standards gonna be as far as, okay, how you play, how you contribute to the team. But on individual drills, both Javon Baker and Jalen Polk has dropped passes, and that's not a good look, Tony. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you heard this, but there were a couple of reports that came out last week that I don't know if it was the jugs machine they were using,
Yep.
but there were passes that were being thrown to both Polk and Baker,
Yep.
and they were both dropping a lot of them. But it wasn't like passes that were being thrown to them by a quarterback. It sounded like it was by
Yeah.
a jugs machine
Yeah.
or something like that, or some type of
Yeah.
mechanical
That's
device.
exactly what I was just mentioning. Yeah, just
Yeah,
now.
so they're
That.
dropping passes, and that just doesn't bode well for somebody who's on the roster bubble. You're dropping passes. I don't care where you were drafted. If you can't catch, we've had enough of those guys in New England that had the speed or the size.
Yeah, the expectation of, oh, this guy's gonna be the next stud up, but doesn't live up to it.
Yeah,
We can name a couple of those, by the way.
no, we could name at least 10 of those.
Oh,
So
more, if
yeah,
not
at
more.
least 10.
Yeah,
So what good is where you're drafted if you can't catch and you can't get on the field?
yeah.
So
Do you remember? I just had to, mention this because since we're already talking about this, remember when we went to the Seahawks game for Week 2 last year when we were talking to this one Patriot fan and this what you call it, dude? I don't remember what exactly he said, but I think he was talking about, oh, even Nikhil Harry, had a good chance. I don't know if you remember that, but I don't remember exactly what he fully said, but I think he said something around along those lines. You was there. You probably might remember. I mean,
I don't recall what he said about Nikhil Harry, but I mean, just mentioning Nikhil Harry being able to contribute to the team in a positive manner just shows you that obviously he didn't know what he was talking about
right,
because
right.
Nikhil Harry had every opportunity to get on the field and show his productivity,
Even
which he was
with
never able to do.
even
So,
with Cam Newton, he didn't do nothing. I mean, it is what it is,
is he
though.
even in the league now?
No, he plays for the Canadian League now. So at least that's what from what I saw the other day on X. Um, but anyway, that's just something I wanted to mention. But if Javon Baker and Jalen Polk want to make a roster spot, they got to get their hands in order, bro. And, with Todd Downey being our wide receivers coach, and I just hope that with that, even mentioning Todd Downing, right, as our wide receivers coach, there is no excuse that these receivers that we have on the roster right now to clean up, the flaws that they have in their game. I mean, we already talked about in the past few episodes, and as we continue to, mention these receivers that we had last year, as in, Kayshawn Booty, Pop Douglas, who were, serviceable in our offense. I mean, when Drake May took the field, at least, we seen what Kayshawn Booty was able to do. I mean, hopefully, they can take that leap, but not too worried about Pop Douglas though, because we knew when we drafted Pop Douglas in 2023, he was going to be a very talented slot receiver,
Mm-hmm.
and Josh McDaniels loves his slot receivers. I mean, you see what he did with Julian Edelman. I don't want to say was Wes Welker a slot receiver?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, Wes Welker, and so many others, right? So there's no excuse, right, with Josh McDaniels, Todd Downing, right, being there, including Doug Marone. Not saying Doug Marone has anything to do with the receiving, uh, you know, group, but of course, that's not to say he can't give an input there and there. But still, you have to be able to take a leap, and if they just do that, then I wouldn't be mad at all. But what do you got to say before we move on?
I'm just thinking about our offense, and last year there was a lot of talk about there's nobody on the Patriots offense that scares defensive coordinators. There's nobody that keeps you up at night.
Right, right,
I always heard, Ramondre is a nice player, but beyond him and Hunter Henry,
right,
there's
right.
nobody offensively that scares you for New England. So let me ask you this:
Go ahead.
who on our offense scares you now?
Who on our offense scares us now? That's a good question because look, the thing is, there's no doubt that we do have some talented dogs on our roster. That's not even but I will have to say Stephon Diggs. You know why? Because look, you're coming off an ACL injury, and we seen like his workout videos, his rehab, him running routes, bro. He might even win comeback player of the year if it comes down to it. If he doesn't get injured this year, I mean that's who I would say though, in my opinion.
I think the word dogs is a stretch.
Over
I don't. Yeah,
okay,
I don't think we have any dogs on the roster. At least not yet. We'll see what happens in training camp, but who knows? Maybe Travion Henderson might be a dog. Maybe Kyle
yeah,
Williams might be a dog.
yeah,
But as of now, I can't even say that about Diggs because okay, he's showing great workout videos, but is he gonna be able to take contact when the season starts?
right,
I don't
right,
know.
right,
You know what I mean? Everybody can look good when they're training by themselves.
right, right,
It's when the
right,
contact comes. Are you ready for that yet?
right,
We don't know how long it's going to be before he can take that contact. So I don't know if there's anybody really that keeps you up. If I had to say anybody, I'd say maybe Travion because of the speed they keep talking about with him, the speed and
right,
the
right,
power.
right. Yep.
But that remains to be seen. So
I don't know. I think Stephon Diggs is looking really good. Hopefully he makes that he does everything that we ask of him. I mean, we paid him 69 million, for 3 years. So, and plus, hey, when push comes to shove, if he doesn't, do what we ask him to do, we could cut him and not pay him the money that we paid him for. Because if you look at the incentives, right, this is more of a prove it year or your prove it deal. So I that's just me, being optimistic. But hey, agree to disagree. But since you mentioning the offense, right? I want to talk about these players that I have here written down who could potentially make the 53 man roster. So of course with Drake May being QB1, Josh
Mm-hmm.
Dobbs being QB2, and Woodridge being QB3.
Right.
So first man up, running back one, Ramondre Stevenson. I think that Ramondre Stevenson is still a talented running back. We don't have to debate about his year last year. He did have a very bad year this year with no coaching, no offensive line to block for him, and you don't just lead the league in fumbling and just get away with it. No, but we can't subtract what he was able to do prior to this year. So it is what it is. Many people, say that we should cut Ramondre. I don't. When I hear, those what you call it, those comments and those preconceived notions, I think it just an overstatement in my opinion. Because look, 2023, right? He was like literally like the vocal point of the offense, in my opinion, right? With Mac Jones being at the helm, and of course we can't forget about Hunter Henry and Pop. But I think Ramondre, the reason why he even got that extension, in 2024 was because of him being the vocal point of the offense. But of course, like I said, we're not gonna just talk about the past. We got to talk about the future. So I think with Josh McDaniels being back and Ramondre being familiar with Josh McDaniels' system, and let's not forget that year he almost had 1,000 yard rushing season with Josh McDaniels,
Mm.
and that's another thing that people don't understand, right? See, he knows how to cater the offense to any position, but of course, quarterback is the strong suit for Josh McDaniels. But that's
Mm.
not to say that that Josh McDaniels can't work with any of the other offensive positions on our roster, but to almost have uh, a let me actually look up Ramondre's stats from 2021 because I could have swore he had uh what you call 1,000 receiving yard season that year.
Not receiving, rushing.
Yeah, rushing, my fault. But I could have swore um
I know he flirted with 1,000 yards,
okay.
maybe even twice.
Okay. 2022 1,000 1,040.
Okay.
Yep, 1,000 yep, 1,040 season.
But
Th-
didn't he have 900 another year or no?
let's look here. He had eight last year he had 800 yards this.
Last year?
Yeah, 2024 right here
Wow.
according to ESPN. Yep. Yep, 800 yards. Yeah. And yeah, it actually he had more touchdowns this year than what you call it last year because remember he got hurt like towards the end of the season from 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So to have more touchdowns, the same amount of touchdowns that you had fumbles. I mean, of course, fumbling is no excuse. You got to hold on to the ball. But hey, I don't know, man. I think that he's still a starting running back, talented at best. I would disagree with any fan that will say, "Oh, cut Ramondre." What do you think?
I'm not ready to cut Ramondre. I'm not giving up on Ramondre
No,
yet.
absolutely not.
Like you said, we just signed him to an extension. He's had the, he had to deal with the death of his father. I'm not ready to give up on Ramondre just yet. And it's not like we would benefit financially by cutting him.
Right, exactly. Because next year we got to, well, I should say this year because this year is the I don't want to say final year because Gonzo, Pop, and Keon White are still on the rookie year deals.
Yeah.
So they're entering year three. So this year should be focusing on paying Gonzo, Pop, and bringing back Keon White. You know, so that's just my thing. But moving on, running back two, I got Travion Henderson. Now it's like I told you in the car, right? What we seen in OTAs, what we seen so far, but it all comes down to how you do in pads, of course.
Mhm.
You know, this dude can play. This dude can ball, and I'm glad that the Patriots picked him in the second round. because you knew how much I wanted what's his name, Luther Burden.
Hmm.
I was so mad when we didn't draft Luther Burden, but it all worked out at the end because we were able to draft Kyle Williams, but which we will get to in a second. But I think Travion Henderson will fit that running back two role, right? And I think what they're doing here, right, the Patriots in the running back room, is they want to create what I like to call the Sonic and Knuckles dynamic duo, kind of like what Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery are compared to in Detroit, right? With of course Jameer Gibbs having speed and David Montgomery having more power.
Hmm.
So I think that's what they're trying to do here with Ramondre and Travion. But I think that Travion Henderson will be uh, a great running back in the future, and hopefully, and if anything, right? I was reading a report yesterday of top 10 rookie candidates to break out this year. Travion Henderson was at number 5,
Wow.
with what you call it, with Pop Douglas being at 3, right? Well, of course, Pop is not a rookie, but still. Hold on, let me correct myself because I'm thinking about two different reports. I'll do the well, what you call research, but anyway, yes, Travion Henderson was top 5 in rookie breakout. But hey, hopefully things work out in training camp because that's where it is all gonna come down to with the pads and everything else.
Mm.
So what do you think? You think Travion running back 2 will work?
Yeah, yeah, he's definitely running back too.
All right. Moving on. Running back 3, Antonio Gibson. Now, no hate towards Antonio. I mean, we seen what he did last year for us. Serviceable. He was good. I mean,
Hmm.
I can't have. There's nothing that I can say about Antonio Gibson that makes him want to like, ugh. You know what I mean? So I think he'll be a what you call it, a good role in the running back room. Um, and it's like I told you in the car. I think they'll split in between reps and being able to contribute as much as they can to the offense. You know what's funny, right? You know how a lot of people, and I don't even think a lot of people is the right thing to say, but you and I both know the Patriots, right? They don't really have a good history of drafting receivers, right? But
At all.
at all, right? But somehow we're always good at drafting running backs though.
Yeah, we get pretty good running backs, but receivers,
I can
I
name
don't know. Yeah, I don't
I can
know.
name a
Yeah,
few running backs that we hit on. Lawrence Maroney, right? Rex Burkett, you remember him? Rex Burkett?
yeah, I remember Rex
Yeah,
Burkhead.
okay.
Did you say Lawrence Maroney?
You don't think Lawrence Maroney was a fantastic running back for us?
Fantastic,
Come on, bro. Do not start, bro. It's like Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow.
fantastic.
It's like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes debate all over again. Do not start,
Did you
bro.
say Lawrence Maroney was fantastic?
Yes, yes,
How long did Lawrence Maroney last?
bro. He was part of that 07 team that when we went undefeated, but of course we eventually lost to the Giants that year. But hey,
Lawrence Maroney was not a fantastic running back.
yes, he was. He was serviceable at best.
Lawrence Maroney was an okay running back. He wasn't fantastic.
Serviceable, I like to call. But hey, we could agree to disagree.
Fantastic?
Yo, don't,
Listen,
coach. Don't
listen.
don't do this to me,
You
coach.
know what that's the equivalent of?
What is it? What is
You
it?
know that stuff in the bag that Steph had on the boat?
Oh my goodness! Hey, his words, not mine. His words, not mine,
Yo,
man.
you said fantastic. Where's
He
Lawrence Maroney right now?
he's retired. I mean, come on. If you played in '07, you're not gonna play in 2024. I mean,
Okay, after he left New England, where did he go and what did he do?
where did he go? Actually, I don't remember.
Lawrence Maroney was not a fantastic running back. He was okay.
Serviceable at best, but it's okay. I think he was serviceable. I
Listen, with our Tom Brady led offense, any running back would have been halfway decent back there. Lawrence Maroney was okay.
Hold on. So I'm trying to think who else was part of that team back then. Who else was in that running back room back then?
'07,
Yeah,
probably Falk.
Falk, Kevin Falk. Is that how you pronounce
Kevin
it?
Falk.
Kevin Falk. Yeah, that was a you know he wasn't a bad running back either.
Kevin Falk was good.
Yeah he was good. Yeah, he was
Very good
good. He
receiving
was.
back too. Kevin Falk was good, smart, good blocker.
See,
Yep.
that's why I was saying to you with Travion, Josh McDaniels loves his receiving backs. He knows
Yeah.
how to work with them well, but
But Lawrence Maroney, fantastic. Somewhere he's smiling like, yeah, I got one. I got one. He swiped right.
hey, but he's not in the league now. So moving
Fantastic.
forward.
Listen, I liked him. I went to training camp his rookie year.
Oh
To,
wow.
he was not fantastic. He was all right.
Mm, it is what it is.
Actually, Corey Dillon was there too.
Corey Dillon, that's my dude right there.
Corey Dillon.
Corey Dillon, that's my
Check
dude.
this. Lawrence Maroney was listed at 220. Corey Dillon was listed at 225.
Right.
I saw them on the field together at training camp, and the difference was like me standing next to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's no offense. I'm just saying
Hey,
there wasn't a
hey,
5 pound difference. Let's just put it that way.
Look, you're not the only one that made fun of my height. So
No, I'm not talking about your height. I'm talking about your weight. There's a 5 pound difference. There's no way. Corey Dillon was a big dude.
Yeah, Corey Dillon was definitely up there, bro. Yeah, that's another what you call a fantastic quarterback. That
Running back.
quarterback. What am I talking about? See, guys. I guess the Stephon Diggs fever is getting all to us.
We had some decent running backs. We had some good ones. We had some decent ones.
Yeah.
Lawrence Maroney, out of all the ones we've had over the past 25 years,
We-
is not high on that list.
We
to be
we
honest with
we
you.
gonna edit that part out.
Yeah, yeah.
But nah, Corey Dillon was definitely fantastic. Though.
Oh,
That
Corey
was
Dillon.
Corey Dillon was my guy, bro. Yeah.
What's my other dude's name?
Not Ty Law. He was a CB.
No. The one he was having issues carrying the ball, and then Belichick told him to hold it tight. Oh, what's his name? Do with the dreads.
Um.
He went nuts in the playoffs. We didn't draft him, but what's his name? I can see his face.
Fred Taylor.
No, Fred Taylor didn't do much with us, and I love Fred Taylor. He's one of my all-time favorite running backs.
Okay.
He didn't do much with us.
Okay.
Fred Taylor. No, what's his name?
A lot of people actually don't know that Fred Taylor played for the Patriots.
Oh yeah, I know that. He was one of my favorite backs with the Jaguars.
Okay.
What's his? He's got the dreads. Oh, what's his name?
Hold on. I'll look him up right now. Hold up. You say he was a running back, right?
Yeah, big running back.
I got you right now. I should know this person too. I mean,
he's somebody who carried 25, 30 yards a game and got stronger as the game went on. What is his name? I could see his face.
okay. Let's see here. Not.
Oh man.
Hold on. So I'm. Oh, okay. Let me look up all time. Curtis. No, not Curtis Martin.
No, Curtis Martin was nasty, but no, this is way after Curtis Martin.
Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis.
No, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis was good too, but he was probably right after Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
Steven Jackson.
No, he didn't do anything with us.
I already said Fred Taylor.
Yeah, not Fred. He didn't do anything with us.
Jeremy Hill.
No, he didn't do anything with us either. He was from Cincinnati.
Okay. Let me see here. Fred McCrary.
No.
Well,
What is his name? Once we say his name, you're gonna be like, oh,
yeah,
he's one of those.
I'm pretty
Once
sure.
you hear his
I'm
name,
pretty
you'll know
sure.
his name.
I'm pretty sure he'll come back to us. All right, but did I say LeGarrette Blunt?
That's who I'm talking
LeGarrette
about.
Blunt.
I told
Oh
you
my gosh.
once you know his
How did I not How did I
LeGarrette,
not remember him from the
LeGarrette,
top of my head?
LeGarrette.
Oh my goodness.
He went nuts a couple years with us.
I did a live one time on TikTok, and I had top 10 running backs in Patriot history with LeGarrette Blunt being what you call it, number 2. I can't believe I forgot about my boy LeGarrette Blunt, but
Yeah, LeGarrette. That's what I'm talking about.
yeah. But as we was just talking about with Antonio Gibson, I think he's gonna take share the majority of the reps with both Ramondre and Travion. But
Yeah,
that just goes to show we never had a problem with drafting running backs. Not saying we drafted Antonio, but hey, I think that it'll be great as far as Josh McDaniels running the offense and whatnot. But moving on, we got to talk about our receiving core. We got to talk about Stephon Diggs being receiver 1, not Pop, Kyle Williams being receiver 2, Pop Douglas being receiver 3, Kayshawn Butte with receiver 4, Eptum Chisholm at receiver 5, and Javon Baker being receiver 6. Assuming that they're gonna have 6 receivers on the roster, kind of like what they had last year. So if they want to add 7, I mean, you're not, but that wouldn't be putting the 53-man roster up there. But
I think you're forgetting somebody. Hollins.
oh, oh shoot, I forgot about
Forgetting
Mac
Hollins. So
Okay,
somebody's got to come off that list
okay,
because
yep.
Hollins is gonna make the team.
Okay, so
I mean, is that fair to say Hollins is gonna make the team?
yeah. He's because there's no way we signed him in free agency for him. Okay, yeah, I see your point. Yep. Okay, so let's see. Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, Pop Douglas, Kayshawn Booty, Eftham Chisholm, and Javon Baker. Okay, I don't want to take Eftham Chisholm off or Kayshawn Boutte, but you know what? I had to put what's his name? Yep. Uh Yep. Matt Collins at receiving 4. But that is to be determined if he becomes a receiver 3, because there's no doubt that he's gonna start. There's no pun intended. No pun intended. He's gonna start for us. Um, so if I'm gonna change this list, I'm gonna put Matt Collins at receiving 4. Hold up, let me put
So
the.
on your list, Bourne doesn't make the team.
Unfortunately, my brother. Unfortunately, I like KB. Hold on, give me 1 second. I gotta fix this. It's starting to glitch. Hold on. My head isn't going out anyway, but I do think that he does fit that. Okay. All right, I fixed it. So yeah, Matt Collins, receiver 4. Efton Chisholm, receiver 5, and Javon Baker, receiver 6. Okay, so Stephon Diggs, look, right? We talked about this earlier, right? Stephon Diggs looks good in the drills. He has been looking good at running routes, training with uh the rehab that he goes to, where receivers go to recover from torn ACLs.
Mm-hmm.
He's looked good there. Um, hopefully that he stays healthy, and I think that he's gonna be a reliable target for Drake May, and he's gonna take the pressure off Kyle Williams and Pop Douglas to give them chances to get open, because we've seen that in the draft, right? So multiple scouting reports have Kyle Williams as being one of the best separators in the draft, and you know supposedly the best hands in the draft. That's from what I hear. I don't know. I don't know if if that's gonna contribute on to what's gonna be shown on the field, because we talked about we couldn't draft a receiver to save our lives. Come on. I mean, look at history. I mean, we drafted Nikhil Harry over if I'm not mistaken, DK Metcalf, or so
Right.
many others in that draft, man.
Yeah, there
And
were some nasty receivers in that draft.
you
Nasty receivers.
you gonna make me have PTSD.
Well, this is a whole different regime as far as drafting
Yeah,
receivers
yeah,
goes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's see. I wasn't happy about passing up on Luther Burden either when we had the opportunity to get him.
Yeah.
I don't know if Henderson was, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him as the player. I'm
Right,
just
right.
saying the position of running back. I don't know if it was as high a priority as the position of wide receiver at that time, and to grab somebody like
Yeah.
Luther Bird. And to me, it's kind of like how we passed up on what's the kid who killed us last year that we could have drafted?
Len McConkey.
McConkey. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hate to have that come back and bite us, but from all accounts, what I'm hearing, it looks like we're going to lean heavily on the running game this year
Right, right.
and let the passing game develop. So if that's
Okay.
the case, then I can see justifying it. But if that's not the case, then you
Yeah,
passed up on a really
yeah,
good receiver.
and yeah, and that's why we drafted Will Campbell and we drafted Jared Wilson, the best center in the draft, and and then you go out and what's his name? You get Morgan Moses to help out on the right, and having Michael Winnowell back at the right guard position, and having Cole Strange be at that left guard, and hopefully he stays healthy because in 2022, which was his best year in my opinion. I mean, before he got hurt in 23 and had to sit out for 2024 and come back at the end of the season, you know. And the thing is, according to his PFF numbers, right, he doesn't have a problem with pass blocking. Run blocking hasn't been his strong suit, but it is what it is. I mean, but as far as like rely heavily on the run game, it's not a bad idea. It really isn't, because that was the plan. This past season, rely on the run game, and look how that turned out for us, man. Offensive line couldn't do nothing, bro.
Well, I was also listening to WEEI the other day with Ted Johnson, Andy Hart, and the guys. They were talking about that offensive linemen would much rather run block than pass block.
Right. Okay.
So, again, if we're going to gear our offense towards running the ball, then okay, let's do it.
Okay. Okay.
Um, I think that our offense is equipped to do that.
Right. Right.
I just don't know if we have the receivers yet to be able to get the separation that's needed
I agree.
for our offensive line to
I
be,
agree.
you know, I don't know if we're ready for that
I
just
I
yet.
agree to an extent, because the thing is, right, because Drake May, right, he loves to throw the ball downfield. He loves to throw the ball downfield. That's been known from the season to uh till now up to this point. Drake May is gonna throw the ball, and of course the question is it gonna be every Sunday thing as far as like the run game. I think there's gonna be Josh McDaniels is gonna have Drake May throw. I mean, you don't, how you doing?
What's up, Don Don?
Love from the family, huh?
Huh.
Yeah, man. Gotta consider family. Always spend time with your family. So, but nah. Anyway, so I think Josh McDaniels is gonna be heavy on uh the run game, because we talked about he loves his receiving backs, and he loves his slot receivers. You know, but I don't know if it's gonna be like the number one thing for the Patriots offense. I think that it's gonna be a tool, kind of like what's the right word I'm looking for? When you're driving, right, and you always have the brake when you always have to use it.
Hmm.
That's kind of like how I look at it, right? You're gonna have to use the brake when you have to, right? Like if you're at a yellow light and you don't. Some people stop and some people go. So I think with that being said, though, the point is, I think the passing game is gonna be what you call it, an option, right? It's gonna be a tool for us, because considering that Drake May likes to throw it.
I feel that the passing game is going to be is going to play a role, but it's just
Play a role. That's what I was looking for.
yeah, the
Okay.
passing game is going to play a role. I'm not trying to say that it's going to be non-existent, but I think they're going to let the passing game develop week by week. So initially, I feel that we're going to rely on the running game, and then they didn't bring in Stephon Diggs for
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, exactly. They didn't bring him in for nothing, and you don't just get offensive protection for Drake May for nothing either. So
So eventually, gradually, the offense is expected to evolve where the passing game continually progresses week by week. But initially,
okay,
I would not be surprised at all to see them rely heavily on the running game and maybe some other running backs as receivers, as you were saying,
right,
before they really develop the passing game.
right. I do have to say though, with Kyle Williams, right? I don't know if it's just my optimism, but I think this dude is. I think he's the real deal. To be honest, I think he could develop into a wide receiver one. Given the opportunity, if he can, of course. I mean, nothing is ever truly guaranteed. We have to wait till the season starts. But I love this kid, bro. I did a lot of scouting report on this kid, bro. This kid can ball. I mean, he beat Travis Hunter on multiple times in college, right? Because Travis Hunter, he played CB too.
Mm.
He played DB and receiver. So he cooked Travis Hunter, on several occasions. Hi,
Love you.
sweetheart. Give me some high five. Yay.
Well, my thing with Kyle Williams is I don't know where he's at on the depth chart, so I don't know how much playing time he's really going to get initially.
Right, 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 right.
So that's the only reason why I'm saying they're going to bring the passing game along gradually because, of course, Diggs is starting. Of course, Hollins and Pop Douglas are going to be starting. Everybody else is going to be secondary to that, like Kyle Williams, Booty, Bourne, whoever else they decide to keep.
Right, 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 right.
Chisholm. Those guys are not. I don't
Real,
know how much playing time those guys are going
realistically,
to get.
realistically, I think what you call it. your your granddaughter's adorable, man.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
What you doing? Oh,
You're hiding. Mm-hmm.
gotta love kids, man.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, but I think Booty has realistically, I think he has a chance on the 53-man roster. I mean, but
I'd like to see it. To me, he's worked for it.
right,
I continue to see him progress, and I'm really pleased with his development. He's
right.
coachable. I would love to see him make the roster.
Yeah, I mean, we see what he was able to do last year.
I mean, if it came down to him, Bourne, Polk, and Baker for one spot, who do you got out of the four of those? I mean, who are you taking?
Hold on, tell me the options again. I heard Born.
Bourne, Polk, Baker, and Booty for one spot.
Ooh, look, I'm all about giving people a chance, but we seen this story happen before with Tyquan Thornton. When we drafted him, it was said that he had the same, good speed, good separation, right? Good speed, good separation, and you know, and he didn't live up to it with his hands, you
Mm.
know. But if I had to say, I will have to keep either Booty. I have to keep Booty. I I,
I'm keeping Booty out of the four of them
I,
too.
I keep him Booty.
First of all, he's gonna cost you less than Bourne is costing right now.
Yeah, yep.
At the same time, he's developed into more of a receiver at this point than Polk and Baker,
Right.
and I feel like he's really earned that right. He's not showboating. He's not doing any of that stuff. He's going out there and he's making plays. So
I also forgot to mention in the OTA's segment, he had a one hand catch.
Booty.
Yeah, he had a one hand catch too, and not 11-on-11s, but it was a passing drill. But
Mm.
it is what it is. But I hope though Booty can make that jump though. LSU receivers don't get it twisted. LSU receivers who transferred into the NFL, right? I think about Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Odell Beckham Jr. in
Mm.
his prime, and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. Those guys are nasty,
Mm.
bro. And and uh, this would have been a nice receiver if Kyron Lacey. Rest in peace, Kyron Lacey.
Mm.
That dude had what it takes too.
Mm.
But rest in peace to Kyron Lacey and everything else. But anyway,
I just feel like out of all those receivers, I mean, I would like to see Booty make not just Booty. I was gonna say Bourne is what I meant to say.
I love Bourne too.
I do
I
too, but
we're not here to be friendly.
yeah,
We gotta win games.
yeah, it's about winning games right now. And if I've only, we don't know how many receivers they're gonna keep. So if I could only keep one out of those four, it's gonna be Booty.
Yeah,
If I could keep two, it's Booty and Bourne. And unfortunately, Baker and Polk would have to make it on the practice squad
hold on, hold
or
on, hold
on
on.
special teams.
You want to say something?
Say hi.
Hi,
What's your
Yeah.
name?
Maya.
So I'm gonna do an extended uncut for this one. I gotta do it. Say go Pats. Yeah. Yeah. W for what's her name again?
Samaya.
W for Samaya in the chat, everybody. Yeah, no, I like Bourne. I think because considering that he has a familiar how what's the right word? He's familiar with Josh McDaniel's system.
Mhm.
Maybe he does make the 53-man roster, but I think the realistic outcome is definitely Booty in my opinion, unless if they could get good trade value for Booty or
Well,
Bourne.
that's something else I was gonna say. From reports I'm reading, chances are they're gonna try to trade either Bourne or Booty, if because they're the
Yeah,
ones that have
yeah,
the most value.
yeah. They do. They do. They definitely do.
Baker and Polk, supposedly they're really high on Baker, so Polk would probably be a cut candidate. I don't think anybody would really trade for him because he hasn't shown anything.
Right.
So chances are he's just going to get cut.
Right.
But
Right.
Bourne and Booty, you could get something for them,
Right. Right. Right.
especially Booty. Booty out of those four has the highest value right now.
Right. 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 Now we covered the receiving core,
Yep.
right? We covered the receiving core, but there's one person that we didn't. Well, we mentioned him, but we didn't really get the chance to really like break down on how he will make that leap. Pop Douglas. I think Pop Douglas. Look, I'm high on him too. I mean, of course, he's not the number one option, but I do think that he does fit that slot receiving role. I think he fits it well. I state my case.
Yeah, I like Pop a lot. It's just a matter of if Pop and Chisholm, your guy Chisholm,
Yep, that's my dude.
um,
Ethem Chisholm winning the Super Bowl MVP. Not
Chisholm might
nah, just
might
kidding.
have to make his
Case.
living on special
Yeah.
teams.
Kind of like how Julian Edelman started out.
Yeah, you're
Hey,
gonna probably have to go on special teams and make it that way, at
yeah,
least initially.
yeah. I mean, that's where like Pop Douglas actually did special teams in his rookie year too. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not a bad thing. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a good start, but
yeah.
if you're gonna make the roster, I mean, hey, but it all comes down to what happens in the training camp. All right, so let's go to our tight end room. Okay, so tight end one, Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
Tight end two, Austin Hooper, who we re-signed in free agency, and Jaheim Bell at tight end three. I mean, we were able to acquire some tight ends from unrestricted, not unrestricted. I mean,
Undrafted.
undrafted. I can't name whom right now, but I do think that what you call it, Jaheim Bell has an opportunity to learn from Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry because considering that we drafted him last year, right? And hopefully, the thing is, he didn't really get a chance, kind of like what's his name, Baker.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's in a good.
Excuse me a second.
Go ahead.
Don't do that in the house, Mama. Okay. Thank you.
Can't wait to have children for my own one day. But anyway, um, what you call it? Yeah, he didn't really get a chance so to see the field a lot. But I do think that Jaheim Bell, has an opportunity to learn from Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, who both played at the highest level and or consider or we could argue about this, who are still playing at the highest level. I mean, Austin Hooper, he played in Super Bowl 51, where Matt Ryan blew that 28-3 lead. Sorry to Falcon fans, but
Mm,
anyway, um, he was there. He was the tight end one for the Falcons,
mm,
and he's been productive his whole career, and seen what he did with Drake May, Austin Hooper, and of course Hunter Henry. He learned behind Antonio Gates.
mm.
That's something that people
Oh.
sometimes forget when he was on the Chargers. He learned behind Antonio Gates, and look how Hunter Henry is. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yeah, man. I think that our tight end room, I do think, however, next year we should draft a tight end. Because I mean, Austin Hooper, Hunter Henry, they're only getting older, and there's only a matter of time, where we have to, draft a tight end. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, but that's not to say that we ever had a problem with drafting tight ends anyway. I mean, we drafted Gronk. We drafted did we drafted Richard Seymour? Or
Seymour was a defensive end.
oh, I thought he played tight end as well.
Mm-mm.
Or cuz I could have swore he played both positions. I
No.
mean, okay. I thought he was a
No.
tight end.
We
Okay.
had drafted Gronk. We had um, what's another really good tight end we had?
He was part of the old 17 too.
Yeah,
Uh
Hernandez, of
yeah,
course.
unfortunately, we all know the story. We don't need to comment on it anymore.
Yep, those were very productive tight ends. We had
Yep.
Ben Colts back in the day,
Ben
nasty tight
Coates.
end.
Yep.
We had
Benjamin Watson.
Ben
Benjamin
Watson,
Watson. Yep.
Ben Watson, and we had another Daniel. Is it Daniel Graham?
I think so. Hold on. Let me look him up. But yeah,
So
keep saying.
those guys um weren't as productive as we would have liked. They were good, but they weren't as productive as we would have liked.
Right, right.
Um, Other than of course
Yep.
Gronk and Hernandez,
Daniel
Daniel
Graham.
Graham,
Yep, Daniel Graham.
very fast.
I don't know why when I looked him up it showed that picture, but I'm not gonna
Yeah,
throw it again.
we'll talk.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk on off camera.
But no, they weren't as productive as we would have liked. But we definitely hit it with Gronk and Hernandez,
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
having them in the same draft.
Right, right,
But
right.
we definitely, I was telling you all along, leading up to this draft, I wanted us to walk away with a tight end, and we didn't do that.
Yeah. You know who's one tight end that I wanted from he was from Texas, but he went to the Titans. Gunnar Helm. He was one of my favorite tight ends coming out too. I mean, this tight end class wasn't too bad. I mean, you had Tyler Warren. You had that dude that who went to the Col- it's okay. We had Colston Loveland who went to the Bears. Who else was it? Who's that? What's that?
Mommy fish.
Oh, okay. Okay. Can I see it? Take a look at fish here. Would you say so, Tony?
Oh yeah,
Hello.
very nice fish. Hey Sierra,
How
love
you
that
doing,
color on
Sierra?
you. You're welcome.
You can say hi. Don't worry. You can show yourself. We got the family here, everybody.
I can only see your hands.
This is gonna be the uncut version. Uh
So,
oh. All right.
well, you talked about Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper getting older, which they are.
She needs to.
Which they are. They're also very productive, though.
Right.
So, oh, 1 second, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Bye, my love.
All right. Take care. I'll pause it. Yeah, I'll pause it. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, all right, you talked about Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry being older.
Right.
Okay, they are getting older, but I keep seeing reports of Baltimore possibly releasing Mark Andrews.
I did see that. Yeah.
Would you take him?
I would. Why not? I mean, people want to go at him for dropping that pass against the Bills last this in the
Yeah.
playoffs, but I'm not gonna hold that accountable to him. Kind of like how we talk about with Ramondre, having 7 fumbles last year. But hey, to each his own, my friend. But I will take Mark Andrews.
Mm.
I would take him, and I one thing that I was gonna talk about later on, but we don't have you know a lot of time. But I was gonna name tight end free agents for next year. Travis Kelsey #1 and David Njoku, and that we'll talk about it next time.
Okay.
But the thing is, I would take Mark Andrews. I really would. I think he's great. I think he's a good tight end. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to say great, but I want to say good. He's a good tight end. He can catch the ball. He can do things that you ask him to do. He could do things that you ask him to do in the game. He won't let you down. He is a good tight end. If not, arguably top 10.
Oh yeah.
Arguably,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
top 10. Arguably.
Always been productive. Stays on the field. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, but that leaves the question for the Ravens. By the way, we're not Ravens fans, but do they start Isaiah Likely? Because I like Isaiah Likely too. Because he's also been a good. He's also been very good with the Ravens.
They have to start him. I mean,
Yeah,
if I keep seeing reports, I don't know why they're talking about possibly releasing Mark Andrews, and I don't know if it's them, the organization, talking about it or just speculation. But yeah, you have to start Isaiah.
yeah. All right. So we covered our tight ends. So last but not least, let's talk about the offensive line. Where this is the most important, position in our offense that we addressed this offseason. Because oh my goodness, 32nd in pass protection, 32nd in run blocking. That's literally the worst offensive line in the league, bro. Last year, let me remind you, 32nd in both pass blocking and run blocking.
Now, keep in mind, they were only 32nd because there's 32 teams. They would be
Yeah.
worse than that if there were more
Yeah, but
teams.
I'm talking about like
I know. I'm saying
yeah.
if there were more teams,
Yeah.
and that doesn't even factor in how many situations that Drake May avoided with his legs.
Right.
That doesn't even factor that. Whoa, what's up, man? That doesn't even take that into account.
Who's that? That's your nephew? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Nah, but bro, I do love the upgrades. But check this out: Morgan Moses, right tackle; Michael Wenu at right guard. This is debatable, but I have Jarrett Wilson being the starter. You could say Garrett Bradbury. That's not, a bad thing to say. But I think Jarrett Wilson beats out Garrett Bradbury. Okay. Now left
Hmm.
guard, Cole Strange, of course, and Will Campbell at left tackle. I think this is a very, in my eyes, a good offensive line. At least that could probably get
Hmm.
you, through games. You know, of course, there's still things that we have to address on the offensive line, but we can safely say this is a better improved offensive line compared to last year. At least we could. At least if you would agree to disagree, that's just my opinion.
No, that's a better offensive line. And as I was telling you last year, leading up to now, as long as the players that we have are playing their proper positions, rather than all of this, let's see how this player does at this position. No, as long as players are playing their assigned position, then
Right.
that's all I want to see
I'm
because
sorry.
we need consistency.
I'm sorry. I just remembered. So back in the OTAs section, I forgot to mention that Morgan Moses was working with the young offensive linemen,
I saw
including
that.
yeah,
Yeah, I
he
saw
was
that.
working with Will Campbell and
Yep,
everyone else.
I saw that.
I think that they got got a dog, bro. I mean, come on, Morgan Moses has always been a dog, bro, through his career. I mean, you play, even though he's 35 years old, but arguably, as offensive linemen get older, they get better. I mean,
You need veterans in certain spots, anyways.
right,
So, I mean, I'm all for a youth movement, but at the same time, you need veteran voices, which shows the leadership. What Morgan Moses did, what
right,
Diggs did the other day,
right,
pulling
right,
people, pulling teammates aside, coaching them up. That's what you
right,
want to see.
right. I think the best offensive lineman on this list. I mean, of course, Michael Wenu was our best offensive lineman last year. I mean, come on, you don't just move from right guard to right tackle, and you know, and you the only one on the offensive line that gave up no sacks and no pressures. But I think this year though, right? We
I
could
thought our best offensive lineman was what's his name, Ben Brown.
center. He was productive, but
They picked him up off the streets, bro, and he came in there and held it down
you know
over
what? I
everybody
would say
else.
that. I will say that. But Michael Wendell, bro, if you look up, PFF grades, right? Pass blocking, phenomenal. Run blocking, phenomenal.
Last year,
Yeah. Here, I'll show you. Hold on. I got you.
I have a hard time picturing anybody on that line being good last year other than Ben Brown.
Hold up. So, hold up. So Michael Wenu, you don't think that he hasn't been productive or good?
Not last year. I didn't think he was.
Hold up.
I mean, I don't know what the numbers say, but
We
my
gon'
eye test didn't tell me that he did anything that stood out. Not
I
especially
mean,
not.
but to be fair though, Michael Wenu, you don't just like hold on, it's loading. You don't just what you call it switch from position and expect to be what you call it, good. Hopefully, hopefully I'm correct. Okay, pass blocking grade. Okay, I was a little exaggerating on the run blocking grade, but pass blocking not bad. 71.9% on pass blocking, but 57.5 on run blocking.
I'm not putting everything on Mike Onwenu.
Okay,
All I'm trying to say is he's their highest paid offensive lineman, so his numbers aren't wowing me. They
right.
had him playing out of position based on necessity. I get that, so I'm not gonna take that away from him. I'm just saying for as much money as he's making, we need more production out of him.
I understand.
Wherever he's at on the line, we need more production based on how much money he's making.
I understand,
That's all I'm trying to say.
but other than Ben Brown, he's also been a very good offensive lineman for us.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, I was a little exaggerated on his run blocking, but I mean overall, he's still a good offensive lineman for us.
Mm.
But I do think with him moving back to right guard, that's going to be amazing for this offensive line. Considering that he played right guard throughout his entire career. But I think what impresses me is that you go from right guard to right tackle, and playing out of position, and you're still
Mm.
trying to protect the quarterback. That's impressive to me. I don't know, man. Like I said, I think that's my reasonings of why I think he's our best offensive lineman. I mean,
I just think that remains to be seen.
okay, Be fair. That's
I
fair.
thought he was our best offensive lineman, and let me put it like this: maybe last year was an anomaly for everybody on that offensive line
Right, right.
due to injuries and players playing out of position, and not possibly being properly coached. A lot of moving parts. It just was a disastrous year
Right.
for the offensive line
Right.
overall. And unfortunately, he was on that offensive line. So,
Right, right. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, you know, because of the fact that, people have been moving out of position back and forth, I mean, of course you're not going to get a productive O line and you're not going to, you know, shine. You're just not. I mean, look what I like to compare with the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, right? Joe Tooney, he was playing out of position, right? If I'm not mistaken, right, he's a guard. Naturally, yeah, he's a guard, but he was
mm,
playing tackle, and so he got beat so many times in the Super Bowl. And we know Joe Tooney who he is. He's a great guard.
mm-hmm,
He's a fantastic
mm,
offensive lineman. You know, but if you're playing out of position most of the time, you're not going to do well productively. That's why, Caden Wallace got hurt so many times last year because they try to move him from left tackle to right tackle. And, bro, I just think with the offensive line, though, right, with this newly improved offensive line and, with Will Campbell there and, Cole Strange at his left guard, finally back at his natural position. Oh, did you know? I forgot. Before we let you say some things, I seen that in OTAs that they had Cole Strange move from left guard to right guard, and didn't do too bad. I mean,
mm.
that's impressive to me too. But like I said, we just gotta see what the season shows and training camp, etc. But what do you think, though?
Well, I think that based on what you were just saying, as far as who makes the roster, who's playing what position, you always have to have guys for insurance. So, and as I was telling you in the car, reports are that Cole Strange is on the roster bubble.
Right, right.
So you either keep him for depth. So I don't know if he has any trade value. Probably not right now, to be honest with you. But actually, he's on his rookie deal, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like I told you in the car. They didn't. The Patriots didn't pick up the fifth-year option for him. Yeah.
So he might have some trade value based on that. But otherwise,
But what if this year he does well and say, and hopefully we make the playoffs and go far? Would you consider bringing back Cole Strange, or there's better options out there for us?
oh, if we do well, then and he plays well and he's a part of that, then he deserves to be rewarded.
Okay.
I'm talking about leading up to training camp. Is he even going to make the roster? Because all the reports I keep seeing, he's a cut candidate.
Right.
So if he's a cut candidate,
If he is, yeah, if he is gonna be cut, then you gonna have to, trade for a left guard because there's no way you're trusting Layden Robinson or Vidarian Lowe or City Soul. That, oh, why are we even talking about?
but who knows if those guys are playing the positions that they're supposed to play? Maybe they're actually productive in that position
I mean,
with some consistency.
we do got Doug Marone and Dante Scarnecchia, in the
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And who knows? Bradbury's an insurance piece, so who knows?
Oh, we can't forget about Wes Schweitzer either, who's
I
also
forgot about him.
who we also picked up in free agency as well.
Those guys are insurance, veteran insurance.
Yeah, I mean,
So now we'll have a little bit of depth.
yeah, but I still feel safe with putting Cole Strange at left guard though. That's my opinion. I mean, respectfully.
All right. So where does this? How does this factor in to this whole equation for you?
Okay.
Reports are that the Patriots still have $67 million to spend. Now you can't carry all of that over into next year. You got to spend some of it.
Yeah,
so
you do. You do.
You can either extend Gonzo and Keon White and Pop, or
And we just signed did you see his contract, by the way, Will Campbell's?
no, he did sign.
Yeah, here, I'll show you the numbers. But anyway, bro, he got a lot of money. I tell you that right now.
How about Travion? Did he sign yet?
Oh, yes, he did. Yep, Travion Henderson did sign. So did Kyle Williams.
But they said the reason that Travion hadn't signed is that there's been a lot of second round picks lately that are getting fully guaranteed deals, and that's what he was holding out for. So I didn't realize
I
that he signed
didn't.
already.
I don't know. I don't know if holding out was the right.
Yeah, that's not that. I'm using the wrong term.
Yeah.
That's why he hadn't signed. Not that he was holding out because he wasn't holding out.
Yeah. No. 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 I didn't see no report of like him holding out on in OTAs just because he didn't didn't want to sign.
Yeah, I
But
used the wrong wording. It wasn't holding out. What I meant was he hadn't signed a
check
contract
this
yet.
out. Look at. So Ian Rappaport. Okay. Will Campbell have agreed, and this was yesterday on his 4-year, $43.66
Fully
million,
guaranteed.
fully guaranteed, fully guaranteed. I'm
What's
not.
the situation with a
Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. So 43.
$28 million signing bonus?
Hold on. The phone's dying. I'm gonna have to edit that out. But anyway.
Wow. Okay.
No. Don't worry. We're almost done anyway. But yeah, 43.66
Wow.
million that Will Campbell signed. That's crazy.
Wow.
For
Good for
all,
him.
yeah, good for him. I don't hate it. But of course, if we're gonna talk about Massachusetts, that's a good reason why he got this cat. But overall, right, push comes to shove, right, Cole Strange gets cut, you know, put Wes Schweitzer in or any of these other guys that we have on the roster who play at the left guard position, right? Because we still haven't seen a lot from Layden Robinson. Second year that we drafted him. Well, because we drafted him last year, but I think push comes to shove that, either we trade for a guard or. Because there's still, some notable free agents out there that I can't name off the top of my head right now, but yeah.
Well, you also have to think of the guys that are going to get cut during training camp
Yeah.
that are still productive but are getting cut due to. We talked about this a few months ago. There's a lot of